You laze in a classroom, each day a cycle of tire and depression. You have heard tales of a different school, one on the edge of town, one where classrooms melt and the students howl. You're not sure how you found yourself here. The last thing you remember, you were just looking at this other school from afar. Now you sit in a classroom with a thing that calls itself a teacher, speaking in a language that burns to hear, his eyes glowing with the light of 1,000 long-dead stars. You shuffle through the hallway, hoping those eyes on what passes for a ceiling here miss you. You sit down in a common room. An acrid ozone smell permeates it as a thing that calls itself a teacher clicks through a presentation reading. Greetings from the Fifth River. I'm your host Ateht, the mosaic of fears and flames, the tapestry of souls and skins, and the cascade of deaths and dreams. Giving you greetings now and forever from the Fifth River. Right now, I'm in your locker. Don't worry, I'm not snooping, just correcting some of your homework. Now I have some housekeeping to catch up on. Firstly, I welcome our new students to this fine educational establishment. Secondly, I would like to warn all students, both new and experienced, not to go into the basement of the farmhouse, as the Queen holds court down there, and we all remember the last time someone got curious. Finally, someone left a blue Honda Civic with their lights on in the parking lot. Please turn them off before something sees. Before something knows we are here. And now, our top story for tonight, the appearance of a new school building. At approximately 9 p.m. last night, a building showed up in the middle of the courtyard. It bisected the large maple tree and had the word gym written on it in big red letters. Even now, it sits out there, mocking our lack of a gym. So far, 23 students have been sent in, not a single returning. But faint sounds of what seem to be a volleyball game can be heard from within. Multiple things that call themselves teachers have left the gym and have begun teaching classes in the courtyard. Their classes include Simple Steps to Ruin the Environment, Historical Misinformation, and Spanish. Up until now, Four Rivers has made do without a gym. Instead, we have simply been in complete silence outside or visited a small church off campus. In the wake of recent increase in activity from the squirrel beasts in the nearby woods, we have been less able to be active outside. And with the church deciding to change professions from place of worship to pile of ash, we haven't had anywhere to go. This is the fourth building to mysteriously appear in our school. The first being the Blue Barn, second being the high school, and third being the middle school. Up till now, every mysteriously appearing building has been great for Four Rivers. But this may be different. A number of students have taken up picketing outside the gym. Their signs reading things such as, Students Against Mysteriously Appearing Buildings, Buildings Should Be Built, and Mysteriously Appearing Buildings. In this economy, they were all able to leave class without issue, as they were all in history at the time, and convinced the thing that calls itself a teacher that this is good hands-on experience. However, counter-picketers have recently appeared, attempting to reverse the effects of the picketers by picketing for the gym instead of against it. They rallied quite quickly, mere minutes after the protesters arrived at the gym, Many had to sneak out of class and risk the rage of things that call themselves teachers to get here. Sadly, the picketers used up all the picket signs in our supply closet, so instead they have taken to writing their messages on hand-held whiteboards. I would tell you what their counter-arguments are, but they seem to have smudged off. I've always been of the opinion that a gym would be wasted at this school. Our students get more than enough exercise during their weekly runs for their life from the Wandering Emperor. Our second story for tonight regards the sudden and tragic death of Nature Club. It was found behind the Blue Barn this morning, with no suspect in sight. This is no eulogy, but let me say, Nature Club was an inspiration to us all, always being there to help people out and teach them essential survival skills. Nature Club was around for the first rising of the Blood Sun, for the incarnation of Urgel et Him, and for that one time we had a cooking competition. But as I said, this is no eulogy. This is a news show, and the news must go on. Currently, there are 3 suspects, and we do have a number of things that could whittle it down. Nature Club was killed by blunt force trauma, seemingly one hard hit to the head by a thin object in the early morning. The local police have narrowed it down to 3 suspects, all of whom have some reason to kill Nature Club, but all of which claim to have an alibi. Our first is a junior, Daniel Attenborough. Daniel's potential motive for killing Nature Club was that Nature Club had caught Daniel cheating on a test. Dan has been known to have a short fuse, and something like this might just be enough to set her off. Dan takes part in no extracurricular activities. Her alibi is quote-unquote watertight, or at least she claims it is. She says she was asleep. Dude, that murder was at like 5:30. I was asleep. Any reasonable person would be asleep, she said. Our second suspect is a freshman, John Jacob Jingleheimer Brown. John's potential motive for killing Nature Club was that Nature Club gave an unclear statement at his job. John has not been known to be violent, but he is very devoted to his job, and this may have caused him to act rashly. John is an employee of the nearby archives where he spends most of his time. John's alibi is rather simple. I was at work. I fell asleep there, and I woke up there. At 5:30, I was cataloging statements. You can check the tape recorder. It should reflect this. Finally, Grant the Grantman Grantsley, a sophomore. Grant's reason to want Nature Club's death is that he just really hated it. He's gone on record saying that, quote, dude, I hate Nature Club so much, unquote, many times. The Grantsman hasn't yet committed an act of violence, although he did once say, if I ever murder someone, it'll be Nature Club. Grantsley is a member of the Ultimate Frisbee team, although not a very good one. His alibi is, I was at Frisbee practice. You know how those practices can run late. I would like to note that I, in fact, do not know how practices can run late. More on this story to come, as the police continue their investigation. But first, we need to pay those bills, so it's time for an ad read. Greetings from the Fifth River is proudly sponsored by Putting River Water in Your Socks. It's free, it's easy, it's putting river water in your socks. For days when you don't know what else to do, go down to the river and put river water in your socks. But why would I do that, you ask? Simple! It's free, it's easy, it's putting river water in your socks. Greetings from the Fifth River is less proudly sponsored by the moon, an eternal guardian over humanity, glowing hues of silver and dreams. She has been there since the beginning. She waits and protects and forgives all. When she rises, the blood sun rests, and you can all have nightmares knowing she is staring down on you. And now, a PSA regarding cats that follow you home. Rune had always liked cats. She thought they were fluffy and soft, and the way they purred was just the most adorable thing. And while she grew up, she had 2 cats that grew up with Zer. They were twins. She never forgot what the blood sun did to them. But right now, she thinks that maybe they don't like cats so much. One sits just above Zer. It doesn't move in the way that normal cats move. It doesn't purr. It doesn't need. Heck, they don't even think it's blinked. She ignores it, or tries to ignore it. She walks further down the road and turns down the dimly lit street to her house. The faint crimson glow of the rising blood sun dripping over the horizon like molasses. They hear something. Scuttling, scurrying, whispering in a language that burns to hear. She ducks into a small alley and tries to hide herself with her backpack when she notices something out of the corner of her eye. The cat sits there. It stares. It doesn't move. Its tail doesn't swish and its ears don't twitch. They wish for the blood sun to stop rising. She wishes she could keep moving. She wishes a lot of things in this instant, but mainly they wish it would blink. And now, back to our stories of the night. The farmhouse has made an announcement regarding the gym. They said, or in a more common tongue, we have a gym now, be happy. This statement came as a shock to many students, as the last time a building mysteriously appeared, the farmhouse sieged it for 3 weeks. Many theorized the school was already on track to build a gym, so this is simply an excuse to not have to. We have heard no word from the gym as to if it considers itself a part of Four Rivers. The picketers and counter-picketers have called for a ceasefire after this announcement from the farmhouse. Prior to this ceasefire, picketers and counter-picketers had started a kakistocratic government on opposite sides of the high school building. The picketers had taken up camp under the bisected maple tree, and after many hours of debate, they decided to become a kakistocracy, mock the farmhouse, as they claimed. The counter-picketers had sent a spy from their base on top of the no idling signs. The spy returned, causing them to look up what a kakistocracy is, which then led them to deciding to be that. That's hilarious, said the group's previous leader. We're that now. The classes run by the things that call themselves teachers have been an amazing success, garnering more attention than the classes students are meant to be in. No one is quite sure how so many students showed up to the classes in the courtyard, but they did. The farmhouse has decided to add historical misinformation, simple steps to ruin the environment, along with other such classes to tribs. And the thing that calls itself a teacher that ran Spanish has begun co-teaching the Div 3 Spanish classes. Sadly, math isn't real, you idiot. 1 + 1 = 4, which was a very popular class, wasn't able to make the cut to tribs, as its name was rather rude, but the thing that calls itself a teacher refused to budge. As for our other story regarding the sad and agonizing death of Nature Club, the murderer has been apprehended. Grant the Grantsman Grantley was apprehended by local police just a few minutes ago. He has yet to say anything to the interrogators aside from, "Yeah, I murdered him. Just kidding." He has repeated this admission of guilt 15 times, each time cackling after saying, "Just kidding." Perhaps he thinks it means it isn't an admission of guilt. A funeral for Nature Club was held during the Div 3 lunch today, during which they procured a rather nice coffin and buried Nature Club under the rain garden. This disrupted the picketers' picketing, and at least one picketer fell into Nature Club's grave. The funeral lasted 2 hours, far longer than the Div 3 lunch should last. But the things that call themselves teachers understood how long it takes to grieve. A new school holiday has been created, allowing students to do no classwork at all on all February 31sts, as a reminder to Nature Club. The farmhouse has refused to comment on claims that February 31st isn't real and you did nothing for us. I, for one, am happy about the days off of schoolwork. I don't do anything, but I think that days off are just a neat idea. And that concludes our broadcast for the night. I wish all listeners a safe trip home from school and a successful avoidance of the now rising blood sun. I have been your host, Ateht, the mosaic of fears and flames, the tapestry of souls and skins, and the cascade of deaths and dreams. And I wait excitedly for the next night that I can say, "Greetings from the Fifth River." Greetings from the Fifth River is written and produced by Theta Wazaleski. Hello, that's me. I would also like to give thanks to Anya and Tim Strisky, Degas O'Day, and Ren Wagenbeek for their continuous support of not only this project, but my writing as a whole. Finally, I'd like to appreciate Miss Crosby, Mr. Lederer, and Chelsea for being teachers willing to support me in this project. The outro music you're listening to right now and the intro music are the Mechanisms Leitmotifs by The Mechanisms and arranged by Snowpossum. Have a nice night, dear listeners.